Hello and welcome to the Rangers News YouTube channel. My name's Cameron Willis and I'm joined by none other than Mr. James Black.
Doing?
We're recording this video after Rangers maintained their winning run. They stretched it to 13 games by beating St Mirren 2-0 in Paisley. It was a small kind of semblance of revenge after what happened a fortnight ago. Goals from Cammy, Roof and Alfredo Morelos in the first half secured the points, and the second half was a little bit more kind of routine. What were your initial thoughts on the game, James?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it there. It was largely a routine win. I think after maybe the first 20 minutes or so, it was kind of even between both sides. I think St Mirren played fairly well. And then once Cammy Roof scored the opener, I felt that was it. The game was as good as over, and it was just a case of how many Rangers were going to score. Morelos got the second, and I think the only kind of disappointment was that they couldn't go on and make it 3 or 4.
I think that after everything that was said in the build-up with Jim Goodwin and stuff, I think everybody was kind of willing us to go on and stuff them. But I think it was just mature for Rangers. We kind of saved a lot of gas in the tank. We gave them a lot of the ball in the second half. They didn't really know what to do with it. They did kind of get put back in their place a wee bit. I think we were complacent when we went up to Paisley a couple of weeks ago. But today, they didn't really know what to do with it when they got the opportunity. But I don't think we started well at all. I think we were sluggish. I think that's summed up by that kind of square ball by Stephen Davis that the boy ended up getting a shot from. But there was actually a chance. I thought Abika was fouling Hilander when the ball came in, and he gets it away. If he scores that, is it a different game?
Completely. Completely and utterly. I think that was the one where, when that didn't go in, St Mirren just knew it wasn't going to be their day. They weren't going to get that wee rub of the green that they needed to kind of get themselves ahead and kind of try and take something from it. That was a real kind of sliding doors moment in the game. But after that missed, you're confident right through it that it was going to be Rangers' game.
I think so. I think that when we did eventually find our rhythm with it, I think that we clearly had more quality. So the first goal, Yanis Hadji kind of wins it back in midfield, slides it through to Cammy Roof, get a little bit lucky, it kind of deflects in, but that was like the first real opportunity, and I think that in them kind of situations, if you don't shoot, you don't score. But what do you think? What do you think? Do you think that set the tone for the rest of the performance for Rangers?
Absolutely, it was that wee moment of class that Rangers needed and had been lacking up to that point. But Hadji's pass through to Roof was just fantastic, and it kind of summed up Hadji's game for me. I thought Hadji was brilliant tonight when he was on the ball. I thought some of his passing was just so incisive, and it was the passing that Rangers have cried out for a long, long time. I think for a long time we've kind of complained that like Davis, Kamara, Jack playing the simple 5-yard passes between each other. Hadji takes that gamble and tries those kind of reverse passes and kind of just something a wee bit different, and it paid off big time.
I thought he was. I think that he's been really good as of late. He's had a good kind of run in the game, a run of games. There was a moment in the first half where I thought maybe he should have shot, and I think that in the form that he's in, something could have came of it. It would have maybe spilled out, or would have at least got it on target, but he hesitated. But except from that, I thought that he was very, very impressive, and he works hard. He's willing to take a kind of robust tackle, and he's certainly given Rangers something to think about going forward, because he's worked his way back into the team. And like you say, he's got that little touch of quality, that little kind of moment of magic. And I think a lot of the time as well, he hasn't got. He has got a lot of unfair criticism. Not so much in Scotland, but in Romania. And I think that he's got a hell of a lot of weight expectation on his shoulder because he's dad and stuff. Some of the stuff's been absolutely ridiculous, but Hadji was a kind of standout performer in the match. I thought Aribo played well. I thought Glenn Kamara played well again. He looks absolutely sensational at the minute. But a wee word for Alfredo Morelos. How much did his kind of commitment, his effort, his drive force Joe Shaughnessy into making that mistake?
Oh, it was massive. Yeah, I thought he had a brilliant game throughout. He was causing hassle for us in Mirren defence, pretty much from the word go. And yeah, it was that harrying and that I think it must be a right terrifying thing as a defender to see Morelos bearing down on you, because he's a right hardy wee bastard. He's a right wee. He's built like a barra. He's no somebody you can easily muscle out off the ball. He's deceptively quick, and he's a really intelligent footballer. So yeah, I think that played a massive part in Shaughnessy just making a complete mess of that back pass, and the finish. The finish was brilliant. The way he just laid Jack Annick down, brilliant.
He took
I
that
really hope that's him.
Whereas up Johnston, man. Sorry.
I hope that's him back to his best now, because that was one of those goals in Morelos where I think even games in the last couple of weeks, you'd have probably betted against him in that situation. But tonight he was calm, cool, and buried it.
You're hoping kind of reignites his form. I think that performance shows you just how valuable he is to the team, especially when you're contrasting it with the fact that he couldn't play when we got beat by St Mirren a fortnight ago, and then comes up and does a performance like that where he's doing all these wee one-touch passes. He's being like the kind of top of the triangle, pointing back towards our half, and he's just coming deep and he's moving and he's pivoting, and I think that he's a big part of how we played. And when he's on form, I think we play better. So it was great to see him back amongst the goals, and I think I'd like what you were saying about ones that he'd missed previously. Like the one at St Johnstone was an absolute horror show, but I think that was probably playing in his mind, and he got much more time for that one, and he just waited until Annick made his decision and slotted it away. It was a great goal. So then we got into half time. We come out in the second half. What were you expecting from the second half?
Largely what we saw, to be honest. I wasn't expecting Rangers to come out and go gung-ho and kind of put their foot on their throat. I largely expected to be one of those kind of composed, calm performances where they almost invite teams onto them and just keep mopping it up because I think as much as Gerrard and the players will deny it, one eye immediately starts going towards the Old Firm when you go in 2-0 at half time the game before it. You start looking at how can you kind of conserve a wee bit more energy and be a wee bit fresher for Saturday. So yeah, I think it was just a case of getting over the finish line rather than adding to what was already there.
I think it was the way that we dealt with the second half, because St Mirren didn't change much. We just kind of let them try and do what they'd done 2 weeks ago, kind of stifle the fullbacks, etc. But when they got the ball, they didn't really know what to do with it, and I think they were just kind of passing it into us. I think that we completely dominated it. We conserved energy. I don't think there was any kind of intention to go out there and just kind of try and swing everything into the box and score more goals. I think it was just mature, get the 3 points over the line, because 2-0 is obviously quite a precarious goal, score. Sometimes, somebody can score and then suddenly there's panic stations, and after everything that happened 2 weeks ago, might have been the same. But no, we played very well. I think that the fact that we've mentioned a good few names before we mentioned the player that actually got the RTV man of the match, which was Philip Hollander, shows you how kind of impressive it was, and how kind of impressive a lot of the individual performances were. But that Hollander performance, he was solid. They gave him a lot of the ball because Goldson's normally that guy. There's a big rake in diagonal and stuff, and he stood up to it and he played well. It's a bit of a headache for Gerrard going into the Old Firm. Who would you pick between him and Balogun?
For me, it's Hollander every day. I know Gerrard seems to. It certainly looks as though Gerrard has a preference to Balogun, kind of 9 weeks out of 10. But I think for games like this, where I was referring to someone earlier on, that Balogun seems to be much more of a last-ditch defender, and that he seems to prefer the guy almost taking him on and then winning the ball back. Whereas Hollander does it long before you get to that stage. And I think he's much more suited to what we're going to need on Saturday. And for me, personally, I think he's a better defender. I think the whole defence as a unit just looks that wee bit more solid and that wee bit calmer when he's there. I think he reads the game so well, and I think it rubs off on his teammates round about him.
I'd agree. I probably think he's our best defender, and I absolutely agree. He's got that kind of mental side to his game, his positioning and stuff that perhaps is you don't have Goldson or Balogun who play with a wee bit more of the heart on the sleeve. But I think there's similarities between Goldson and Balogun as well. And maybe Helander being beside Goldson complements him a wee bit more. But I was actually very impressed with Balogun at the weekend. I thought that he played really well against Hibs. So I'm not sure what we'll go with that. And I know Helander's just recovering from COVID and that as well. So I do not know what way he'll go with that, but it's a good dilemma to have, certainly. So yeah, it was a solid result, good result. 13 wins on the bounce. Is there any major surprises or any kind of takeaways from the game that you wanted to point out?
Nothing major. The one big thing for me, it's not so much a big thing, but the one thing for me has been Alan McGregor's performance, because I think in recent weeks he's been a bit culpable, particularly like cross balls. I think there've been a few goals in recent games McGregor's conceded where you're like, he probably could have done a bit better. I thought tonight he was commanding well, a lot of the balls into the box. He was throwing himself over the top of people. He was catching crosses well above the defence. And it was just a kind of return to form a little bit for him. And kind of well timed in his 400th appearance for the club.
Oh yeah, good on him. As well, that another thing people were pointing out on Twitter was the kind of performance of Bengani Zungu, who appears to be splitting a lot of supporters at the moment. I thought he came on and he was out of the pace of the game. He lost the ball kind of straight away, almost cost a goal. He's obviously still settling. He's not getting starts or full game time, etc. Everything's a little bit intense right now. Do you think there's a level of substance in it, or do you think that it's too early to judge?
There's a little bit to it. For me, he strikes me as one of these players who really looks better when he starts games. I think Morelos kind of has that same problem a lot of the time. He can kind of take a little bit of time to get up to speed with the game and just kind of build up to it. And when you come into a game, I think it was 75 minutes. Zungu came off the bench tonight.
Maybe a bit later.
Maybe even, I think it might have actually been maybe 78 or so. But yeah, I mean, it was the last 10, 15 minutes anyway. It had been a fairly high energy game throughout. It wasn't one that was kind of played at training ground pace. So it's not the biggest crime in the world to come off the bench and not get right up to speed with that. The big thing for me though is that he's not necessarily shown it in other games when he has started as well. He's taken that wee bit of time to get up to speed. He's kind of looking up. I think it's maybe just the pace of Scottish football sometimes catches him out. And it will not be the first player that's happened to. It will probably come with time, but given the nature of him being a loan deal, I'm not sure he's got it.
Interesting. I think for me, he obviously comes with a high amount of pedigree, and there's obviously some level of class there that's above the standard in Scotland. Otherwise, we wouldn't have taken him in, and we wouldn't have made such a deal. And I think that as respected as he is at international level shows you that he's got ability. But it's interesting. He's obviously going to get more game time now. Maybe not in the next two matches because it's Celtic and Aberdeen. But with, I think it's 2 to 3 weeks, Stephen Gerrard said Arfield would be out.
Yeah.
And Ryan Jack's injury, we're beginning to look a little bit shorter in midfield. So this is when he's going to have to come up big. I think people had earmarked him as the potential long-term replacement for Stephen Davis or somebody who plays in the same kind of position. So it'll be interesting to see how we use him going forward. So now we're looking ahead to Saturday's match. Obviously Celtic won as well, which makes it very, very interesting going into the game. We'll kind of go into this in greater detail tomorrow with Jordan and stuff. But what's your initial kind of thoughts going ahead to Saturday?
Bring it on. It's one of I'm always quite apprehensive in Old Firm games at the best of times. And you're at the point now where I would much rather we're going into this with Celtic having a couple of wins under their belt because they're world beaters again. And they've got that false confidence and everything else. So yeah, just bring it on. We win this, and it's our title to lose after that. So
I think it's true. Massive match. Like the incentive is absolutely ginormous. Not just the fact that we can go 19 points clear. They've got to win their games in hand to take it back to 10. It's still double like digits. It's the fact that the reaction would just be spectacular. Do you know, like it really would begin to feel like it's slipping away. I think that if we win, if we lose, if we were to lose, if the unthinkable was to happen, I think we've obviously still got a 4-point advantage, and it would be a big test of our mettle going forward. But it gives them a momentum that they've really not had. You know, they've won 4 games, they win this one, suddenly they're not just world beaters, but you know what I mean. They're like the greatest ever again. So it's like, I think that we can stop them in their tracks more than just with points in the table, which is obviously the most important. But in terms of their own momentum, I mean, the last time we beat them, it kick-started a run, I think, of like 2 wins in 12 games. What's very, very impressive is that Rangers have won every single league game since then. Do you know that? I mean, we played Hibs at the weekend, and it was like that was the last time that we'd lost an entire round of Scottish Premiership fixtures since we'd even dropped points, rather. So yeah, I think that it's big in multiple ways. All the pressure's on them. There's pressure on us as well. Obviously, it's no fun, but I think the majority of it's on them. So I think we've got it in us to go in there and do it. And I think there's maybe a little bit of sense of maybe, I don't know, them maybe kind of under selling us as well, because we've been grinding out results. But I mean, if we were performing that at the start of the season, maybe it'd be an issue. But at this point in the season, if you're winning 1-0, 2-0, etc., you're taking it every single day. Do you know what I mean? And it's not as... I still think we've been playing well as well. So I'm the same as you. Bring it on. I'm quietly confident. I don't think it'll be the kind of swashbuckling 4 or 5-0 that everybody thinks. I'll take any win. I do think that they'll compete, but I think that we've got more in us right now to take all 3 points. So anything else you want to add about the St Mirren match?
No, honestly, one match yourself. No, it's a good solid win. It's perfect platform to go into Saturday's Old Firm game, and I think Gerrard is going to have a couple of headaches about selections. Does he bring Kent back in? Helander or Balogun? Does Morelos start? Does Hadji start? What's his midfield three? He's going to have a kind of hectic couple of days figuring out what his team's going to be.
Yep, we all look forward to it. We'll be back with a preview tomorrow, and then we're going to look towards like an end of year review as well, which is quite an exciting prospect. So if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and yeah, we'll see you all soon.